We begin with breaking news now. President Trump has weighed in on the executions of New York City citizens and an NYPD officer at a Park Avenue corporate building at the end of the workday yesterday. The coward who did this committed suicide at the scene, reportedly. The president's social post just today. I have been briefed on the tragic shooting that took place in Manhattan, a place that I know and love. I trust our law enforcement agencies to get to the bottom of why this crazed lunatic committed such a senseless act of violence. My heart is with the families of 4 people who were killed, including an NYPD officer who made the ultimate sacrifice. God bless the New York Police Department, and God bless New York. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. 4 people murdered, including police officer Didarul Islam. 36 years old, served on the force for just 4 years, and he leaves behind 2 young children, and his wife is pregnant with their 3rd child. The investment firm Blackstone is in that building, and one of the executives was killed, Wesley LePatner. Surveillance footage here shows the man police have identified as 27-year-old Shane Tamura walking toward that Park Avenue high-rise carrying heavy weaponry. Here is NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch.
The building security camera footage shows the shooter enter the lobby, turn right, and immediately open fire on an NYPD officer. He then shoots a woman who took cover behind a pillar, where he shoots a security guard who was taking cover behind the security desk. The shooter then calls the elevator, which opens in the lobby. A female exits that elevator, and he allows her to walk past him unharmed. He goes up to the 33rd floor, which is route and management, and begins to walk the floor, firing rounds as he traveled. 1 person was struck and killed on that floor.
Employees inside their offices had stacked furniture and anything they could to find doorways against doorways on the 33rd floor, barricading themselves from the killer. The building is located in the heart of Manhattan on the famous Park Avenue. And it's home to high-profile corporations, Blackstone, as I just mentioned, the NFL headquarters as well. Witnesses say they are shocked.
What kind of system for it that allowed this to happen and are doing heist? You know, like it should never happen in the first place.
I just feel less safe. You feel it, you know. I don't know. Like I used to feel a lot safer, more comfortable, just being in the area, being in the neighborhood, and I don't anymore. Honestly, I don't.
Let's check in for the very latest on the investigation and what we know about that man with that weaponry. Alexis McAdams reporting now. Alexis.
Hi, Harris. Yeah, a chaotic night for so many people here in New York City and families that were watching from afar, wondering if their loved ones were going to be okay. Yesterday, 4 people went into that skyscraper behind me to just go to work, and they didn't go home to their families after a gunman opened fire in that lobby, shooting 5 people and killing 4 of them. Some were sent to the hospital. This is people were trying to either run for their life or barricading themselves, like you said, calling 911 for help. Listen.
Wearing a black suit and a bulletproof vest. Stayed 100 people. They heard 4 rounds. Possibly 1 male shot at this time.
And that was the dispatch as they tried to get those officers out to the scene as quickly as possible. This is the gunman identified as Shane Tamura. Authorities say he just walked right in with a rifle there. You can see it on your screen around 6:30, which is pretty busy here in Midtown Manhattan, as you know. He did leave a long note behind, according to authorities. The 27-year-old in that note claiming he suffered from CTE from his time playing high school football. The New York City Mayor Eric Adams talked about this today, saying Tamura came to this building specifically to target the NFL headquarters.
He alluded to having CTE from playing in the NFL. He never played in the NFL. We're still going through the suicide note to zero in on the exact reason, but at this time it appears as though something that is attached to his belief he experienced CTE from playing in the NFL.
And so we're digging into more on that. The gunman did spray the lobby with bullets. You can see it on your screen. The glass was shattered. 3 of the 4 people who were shot actually died in the lobby there, we're told by police. Among them was Blackstone employee Wesley LePatner. She was just a young woman who had a huge job here for that big company and was known to be brilliant and well respected. She leaves behind a husband and some kids, who were wondering where their mom was last night. NYPD officer Didaral Islam lost his life too. He was only 36 years old, gunned down while working off-duty security at the building here, just trying to get some extra hours to support his family, we're told. He was married with 2 little boys, and his wife is pregnant and had another baby, on the way, and she got that call last night as well. The investigators are now beginning the search at the gunman's home out in Las Vegas. You can see the squad cars parked there in Nevada outside of the gated neighborhood with the police tape as they try to piece this entire thing together. Back out here live, we can tell you something that happened yesterday, Harris, when we're talking about security. As we know from where we work in Midtown, usually you got to go through a couple security layers. Somehow he was able, this gunman, to walk right inside with that assault-style rifle, went right up into the elevator bank. But one thing he did do, according to the mayor, Harris, was take the wrong elevator bank. He was looking for the headquarters of the NFL. He ended up on the 33rd floor where he took his own life. Harris.
All right, Alexis, thank you very much for setting us up with all of that great reporting. Today's New York Post cover, terror on Park Ave. In focus now, Chris Swecker, former assistant FBI director. Chris, my first question for you is, has New York City a problem now with how much it needs to indemnify things for corporations? I'm thinking of the Hilton down the street when that CEO from United Healthcare was killed. These incidents are not coordinated, obviously, but the access is pretty easy.
Yeah, I mean, each individual building has their own security, and then of course the NYPD has responsibility for the streets and just overall policing. Having been the head of security for Bank of America, and also being I was on a board of a Blackstone-owned company and attended many meetings there. My theory is that he was expecting more resistance, and he didn't get any. Before he got into the building. We eliminated bank robberies, almost virtually eliminated bank robberies by putting security outside the building where they're visible and they're a deterrent, and they can actually protect people from inside and act as a buffer before a bad guy with bad intentions can get inside a building. Not armchair quarterbacking here, but the security is going to be effective. They can't be inside a building, because by the time a shooter gets inside a building, they're already committed. But if they see an officer outside, they can either, act as that buffer, or they will not. They'll go back to their car. He wanted to get into that building. If he saw more resistance, he may have backed away.
So that's exactly what I'm talking about, though, because with the United Healthcare killing of Brian Thompson, just up the street from where we sit here in Midtown, it wasn't that they were inside the hotel, but the egress on that building is tight because these streets are tight. Like 6th Avenue isn't wide enough to give you, 50 feet of egress from the road. So I'm thinking in the areas in the middle part of the city, what else do you need to do? I mean, do you put up pylons? Which we've done here at Fox News. What else do you need to do? Because there are people also who were on that plaza where he was just walking dilly-dally with a heavy weapon.
Yeah, I mean, that particular plaza has a recessed fountain there that covers a lot of big part of the plaza. After 9/11, bollards went up everywhere in the city in front of these buildings, but bollards would not have stopped him. He's on foot. I go back again to there's 2 things that you can get in, when you start talking about prevention and deterrence. One is red flags. People that know him and if they see bizarre behavior and this type of intention, they report it. 2 is, again, a visible security guard outside the premises. You see a Bank of America branch right there as well. Right. I'm surprised there wasn't a security guard outside the bank, because that's the way we left it when I left Bank of America. Was any high-risk branch was going to have an armed security guard outside. If they're inside, there are no deterrents, and they're really not that effective. No disrespect to anyone inside that building. They were ambushed. They never saw it coming, and they're heroes. But in this case, this is about corporate security and private security and how they work with the police department. Police are on the streets. They're not going to stand in front of every building. They just can't be everywhere. So corporate security has a responsibility, and building managers have a responsibility to put a security guard outside the building.
Well, your experience as head of security for B of A is really helpful, since you happen to see one in the vision of what we've captured here in video. And there wasn't, as you said, that guard that you would have left behind when you left that post, that there would have been somebody there. You mentioned the words high risk. I mean, we have beautiful buildings and high rises all over Manhattan with important high profile companies. Like, is everybody at high risk? And by the way, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco, I mean, there are lots of places with high rises. What determines a higher risk?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is New York City. I mean, even though their homicide rates are down and they've gotten crime rates down a bit, I think it's just overall a high risk venue, and you just can't let people walk into buildings willy-nilly. In this case, they walk in and they show their ID, and then the security guard behind the counter will check and see if they have an appointment, if they're expected. They'll point them to the security, to the elevator banks. There's another security guard there, and they'll allow them access. Then when you get into the elevator banks, each elevator bank goes to a different section of the building upstairs, and he obviously pushed the wrong button. But again, all this security is for nothing once the bad guy is already inside the building. Even though the technology is good, and they disabled the elevator banks after 911 calls went in and they had some time to react, they didn't have enough time to react, and he was already in those elevator banks, headed up to heavily populated floors, and he didn't get to the one that he wanted to, but he did enough damage. And no, I won't say enough damage, that's a terrible phrase, but he did damage. And before he killed himself, when he realized that there was a response on the way. But again, security guards outside the buildings like this, NFL, there are people coming and going. They're open to the public. They have top level executives inside. At Blackstone, there's a lot of other companies there. I would consider that a high risk building.
Yeah, KMPG, there were a lot of companies in that building. I appreciate your expertise today. And you're right, he may not have ended up on that elevator where he wanted to go, but he killed anyway. Vicious. Thank you very much.
Senseless.